Every time I think about my story or I tell my story, I always think that girl couldn't have been me. That was never the girl I wanted to be or never the girl I thought I'd become. But in reality, I look back at the story and that was me, that was my life, and I made those decisions myself. For me, the point where I kind of turned my back completely on God was probably in the 10th grade when I got my boyfriend who I loved, and we were just completely in love with one another. And so for me, it started off with sexual sin, and at the time I really didn't even think it was a bad thing. I just kind of thought like this is what everybody else is doing in high school, and so that's what I'm doing too. And he's been my boyfriend for a while, so it's okay. And then after we ended up breaking up, and so when we broke up, I was just completely devastated. I just thought like I had lost like the most important thing in my life, and I was left with nothing. I didn't really have too many friends anymore because I spent all my time with him, and I just ended up being me, and I was alone. And so that void I quickly filled with drinking and doing drugs. I then went off to college to Central Michigan, and at school I wanted to be the girl that everybody liked. I wanted to be pretty much what I would call like the ultimate party girl. I wanted people to really like me, and I wanted to be the girl boys would want to kick it back with and girls would want to be. It was kind of like stupid and cheesy, but that's really like my mindset and how I felt. And so I started drinking a lot more and just going to parties all the time and doing drugs still and still having sex too all throughout my first year. So there I was having the time of my life, and halfway through my second semester there was a night that changed my life completely. It was March 22nd, and I was at the Delta Chi house, and they had a big fraternity party, and so I got all cute and we went out, and I was with a couple other of my girlfriends that I lived with, and we started drinking probably around 8 because it was just like a nice night out, so it was a nice night to start early is what we thought. And so then we started drinking, and I just kept drinking and drinking and drinking, and then we ended up going in a room, and they had weed in the room, and they asked me if I wanted some, and at first I was like no, and then I was like okay, yeah, I haven't done it in a little bit, like I'll do it. And so then I took a hit of weed, and then after that people's faces kept coming in and out, people's voices kept coming in and out, and I really couldn't grasp anything that what was going around me, and I just thought that everybody in the room was lying to me. I knew something wasn't right, and I knew I needed help, so I started asking my friends for help, and I couldn't breathe, so I asked them to call 911. That, like, I knew I needed people there besides them helping me. And then I also told them to not let me fall asleep, because I knew if I fell asleep that there was a chance of me not waking up. And if I didn't wake up, I knew that where I was going was hell. And it was one of the most realist points in my life, even though everything else around me I couldn't grasp. I could grasp the fact that I would be going to hell if I didn't wake up. So then I got back to my dorm room somehow. I don't remember how. And I knew I needed help from someone, so I decided to call my brother because I thought he'd be like the most understanding of the whole situation. And so I called him, and I told him kind of what happened in a short version, and he told me, I'll be right there. And so I waited for him, but I was still really scared to sleep at this point. Like, I went and got my friend next door, and I made him like stay up with me because I still was not ready to go to sleep or anything. And so I waited for my brother, and he got there, and then we drove back to my house in Monroe, and we waited for my mom and dad to get there because they were at the cabin that weekend. And they got back home, and then that day I gave my life back to the Lord. and me and my whole family, we prayed together, and we just sat in prayer with one another, and it was just an amazing day where me and God I knew like the full truth of him and who he was in my life.
Lord, you're near to those who are discouraged. You save those who have lost all hope. You've taken my sorrow and surrounded me with joy.
That day was just completely amazing. I kind of felt like I was just a completely different person. Like, it was a complete 180 in my life. And I knew from that day on, like, I didn't want to go back to Central. I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to have sex. I didn't want to do drugs. Like, I truly wanted a relationship with God. So here I am 7 months later, and God has just done amazing things in my life. Even though I was never faithful to him, I had to call upon his name one time, and he was right there. And it just like kind of showed me like how faithful he's been to me, and like it really opened my eyes to like it's time for me to be faithful back and give him my life completely. He's restored relationships within my family and how I am towards other people in my family. I'm getting involved in life groups. I have a good group of girls that surround me and hold me accountable for the things I've said I've wanted to do and change in my life. And I just know now it's time to be real.